There was a real problem because a lot of people felt that that would never get on the radio. My problem is my movie.
Kevin Costner's story doesn't begin in the spotlight of Hollywood. It starts in the working-class neighborhoods of California. Born in Linwood in 1955, Kevin grew up in a modest home in Compton, a place far removed from the glamour he would later embody. He wasn't the quiet, bookish type. Instead, he filled his childhood with football games, music, and long afternoons exploring the outdoors. But there was always something more beneath the surface, a hunger to create, to express. He played piano, wrote poetry, and sang in the church choir. These weren't just hobbies, they were outlets for a restless imagination. Still, life wasn't easy. His father's job forced the family to move frequently, uprooting Kevin just as he began to make friends. Each move chipped away at his confidence, but also hardened his resolve. Then came the spark. Like millions of boys his age, Kevin was captivated by the sweeping westerns of the era. Films like How the West Was Won didn't just entertain him, they inspired him. He saw stories of ordinary men becoming legends, and somewhere deep inside, he wondered if he could do the same. What he didn't know was that these quiet moments of fascination would one day shape his destiny and lead him to a chance encounter that changed everything. By the time Kevin Costner entered California State University, Fullerton, he had chosen a practical path: business. Acting wasn't part of the plan. He imagined a stable life, perhaps in marketing or management. But deep down, that creative itch hadn't disappeared. Then fate intervened, in the most unexpected way. In 1978, on a flight returning from his honeymoon, Costner found himself seated near a man whose presence was impossible to ignore: Richard Burton, one of Hollywood's legendary actors. Nervous but curious, Kevin asked him for advice. Burton's response was simple, yet life-altering. If you feel you have to act, you have to act. If you don't waste your time. Those words hit hard. For Kevin, it wasn't just advice, it was permission. Within weeks, he abandoned his business ambitions and threw himself into acting classes. To survive, he took odd jobs, working on fishing boats, giving Hollywood tours, and even driving a truck. Every cent went toward lessons, auditions, and the slim hope of a break. But success didn't come quickly. Rejections piled up. He was just another hopeful face in a city full of dreamers. Still, that spark, the one ignited by childhood westerns and fueled by Burton's words, kept him going. And soon, persistence would pay off, in a way he never expected. The early 1980s were anything but glamorous for Kevin Costner. He scraped by with small, forgettable roles, appearing in films like Sizzle Beach, USA, and bit parts in Night Shift and Testament. He was surviving, not thriving, but each role gave him a little more experience, a little more confidence. Then came the breakthrough. In 1985, director Lawrence Kasdan cast him in Silverado, a vibrant western that showcased Costner's natural charisma. It wasn't the lead role, but he stole every scene he was in. Hollywood finally noticed. What followed was a rapid ascent. In 1987 alone, Costner starred in The Untouchables, playing a determined Eliot Ness hunting Al Capone, and No Way Out, a tout political thriller. Both films were critical and commercial hits, proving that Costner wasn't just a handsome face. He could carry a story, command the screen, and deliver box office results. But Costner wasn't done. The next 2 years cemented his status as a leading man. Bull Durham in 1988 captured hearts as a romantic baseball comedy, and Field of Dreams became an instant classic. Audiences connected with him in a rare way. He felt authentic, approachable, the kind of star who didn't need to shout to be heard.
By the dawn of the 1990s, Kevin Costner was no longer fighting for a place in Hollywood. He was at the top and ready to take an even bigger leap. The 1990s began with Kevin Costner doing what few actors dared, taking complete creative control. He directed, produced, and starred in Dances with Wolves, an epic western about a Civil War soldier finding connection with a Native American tribe. Industry insiders doubted him. A 3-hour western? Directed by an actor with no directing track record? They predicted failure. But Costner proved them all wrong. Dances with Wolves became a cultural phenomenon, earning over $400 million worldwide and sweeping the 1991 Academy Awards with 7 wins, including Best Picture and Best Director. For Kevin, it wasn't just success, it was validation. He had trusted his instincts and won big. Following that triumph, his star power soared. He headlined major hits like Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, 1991, JFK, 1991, and The Bodyguard, 1992, each showcasing his versatility, from action hero to romantic lead. The Bodyguard, co-starring Whitney Houston, produced one of the best-selling soundtracks in history and immortalized Costner as a global superstar. For a moment, Kevin Costner seemed unstoppable. He had wealth, acclaim, and influence, able to greenlight projects on his name alone. But at the height of his dominance, challenges began to emerge. Success had made him a target, and the very industry that once celebrated him was about to test him in ways he never expected. With Hollywood at his feet, Kevin Costner refused to stay confined to acting alone. He wanted to explore, to build, to create beyond the screen. In 1990, he founded TIG Productions, his own production company, giving him freedom to develop projects on his terms. But his ambitions reached far beyond film. A lifelong baseball fan, he embraced roles that celebrated the sport, becoming a symbol of America's pastime through movies like For Love of the Game and Chasing Dreams. He didn't just play the part, he lived it. He attended college games, supported teams, and even became a co-owner of the Lake County Fielders, a professional baseball team inspired by his beloved Field of Dreams. Costner also ventured into music. In 2007, he formed the country rock band Kevin Costner and Modern West. They toured internationally, performing in cities like Istanbul and Rome, and even took the stage at major NASCAR events. His artistic expression was expanding into new arenas, earning him a different kind of audience. And then there was his business acumen. He invested in oil spill cleanup technology, a move that seemed odd for a Hollywood star, until the Deepwater Horizon disaster struck in 2010, and his company's machines played a role in the cleanup effort. But behind these successes lurked risks and tensions. Not all of his ventures thrived, and some would later drag him into controversy. The first cracks in his seemingly perfect empire were starting to show. Success often attracts scrutiny, and Kevin Costner was no exception. As his ventures grew, so did the challenges that came with them. One of the most notable conflicts arose from his investment in Ocean Therapy Solutions, the company behind the oil spill cleanup technology that gained attention during the Deepwater Horizon disaster. While BP ultimately leased dozens of the machines, former investors accused Costner of secretly securing the deal and cutting them out in millions of profits. The lawsuit, which included actor Stephen Baldwin as a plaintiff, painted Costner as deceptive and opportunistic. After a high-profile trial, a federal jury cleared him of wrongdoing, but the public spectacle was a stark reminder that business success often comes with a price. Legal troubles weren't confined to technology. His ownership of the Midnight Star Casino in South Dakota also led to a bitter fallout. Disputes with former managers turned into protracted legal battles that went all the way to the state's Supreme Court. Costner ultimately lost the appeal, and the venture closed its doors in 2017.
These setbacks chipped away at his once flawless public image. While he remained a respected actor, the myth of Kevin Costner as an untouchable Hollywood golden boy was starting to unravel. And soon, the world would watch as his career faced its most surprising twist, a return to prominence in a way few saw coming. By the mid-2010s, many believed Kevin Costner's glory days were behind him. His box office dominance had waned, and he was more often remembered for past triumphs than current hits. Then came Yellowstone. Premiering in 2018 on the Paramount Network, Yellowstone told the story of the Dutton family, owners of the largest ranch in Montana, caught in a brutal fight to protect their land from developers, rivals, and shifting times. At its center was John Dutton, the hardened patriarch brought to life by Costner. It was a role that seemed tailor-made for him, rugged, authoritative, and layered with quiet vulnerability. The series was an unexpected phenomenon. Viewers were captivated by its mix of family drama, high-stakes conflict, and stunning Western landscapes. Ratings soared, and Yellowstone became one of the most watched shows on television, spawning multiple spin-offs and cementing Costner's place back at the forefront of American entertainment. For Costner, Yellowstone wasn't just a hit, it was a revival. It reminded audiences why he became a star in the first place. Yet behind the scenes, tensions were building. Scheduling delays, creative disagreements, and the growing demands of his personal passion project began to clash with the show's relentless production cycle. The resurgence had reignited his career, but it would also set the stage for one of the most dramatic exits in modern television. What began as a career renaissance soon turned into controversy. By 2023, rumors swirled that Kevin Costner's time on Yellowstone was coming to an abrupt end. Reports claimed he was unwilling to commit to the show's demanding schedule, prioritizing his passion project, Horizon, and American Saga instead. Anonymous sources suggested he only wanted to film for a single week in the second half of Season 5, an allegation Costner firmly denied. Behind the headlines was a more complicated truth. The production schedule for Yellowstone had become increasingly unpredictable, plagued by delays from the pandemic, strikes, and internal shifts. For Costner, each delay jeopardized his ability to move forward with Horizon, a project he had spent decades preparing for. While Costner maintained that he was ready to work whenever needed, the narrative painted him as difficult, even disloyal. Paramount and the show's creator, Taylor Sheridan, remained mostly silent, fueling speculation. Eventually, it was confirmed Costner would not return for the second half of Season 5, and John Dutton's story was set to conclude without him. The decision shocked fans and divided the industry. For some, it was a necessary creative shift. For others, it felt like the loss of the very heart of the show. For Costner, it marked the end of one chapter and the risky beginning of another. With Yellowstone behind him, Costner turned his full attention to the project closest to his heart, Horizon, an American Saga. This was no ordinary film. It was an ambitious, multi-part Western epic set in the post-Civil War era, a story he had dreamed of telling for over 30 years. But passion projects come with a price. Costner didn't just direct, co-write, and star in Horizon. He also invested a staggering $38 million of his own money to bring it to life. In total, the production's budget reportedly topped $100 million, making it one of the riskiest ventures of his career.
For Costner, Horizon wasn't just another movie, it was personal. His teenage son, Hayes, plays a significant role in the first installment, and his eldest son appears in the second. On set, Costner wasn't just a filmmaker, he was a father, guiding his children through a world he had spent decades imagining. Still, the stakes are enormous. Success could reaffirm his legacy as one of Hollywood's great storytellers. Failure could tarnish it, leaving him financially and professionally vulnerable at a time when scrutiny is already intense. As the first trailers debuted, showcasing sweeping landscapes and gritty drama, excitement built, but so did the pressure. Everything now hinged on Horizon's reception. And while Kevin Costner was betting big on his future, his personal life was unraveling in ways that would test him like never before. Today, Kevin Costner stands at a crossroads. Professionally, he's pursuing the biggest gamble of his career with Horizon, an American Saga. Personally, he's navigating the aftermath of a high-profile divorce from Christine Baumgartner after 18 years of marriage, a split that laid bare his finances, properties, and personal life for public scrutiny. Court documents revealed just how vast his empire is, a 10-acre beachfront estate in California worth over $145 million, multiple residences, and significant ongoing income from past work. Yet, for all his wealth and accolades, Costner's current path feels precarious. Without Yellowstone, the steady anchor of his late-career resurgence, everything now hinges on whether Horizon succeeds. Despite the challenges, Costner shows no signs of retreating. He continues to promote his projects, supports his children's ambitions, and stays committed to storytelling in all forms. But the question lingers. Can he weather this storm and emerge as the legend he's long been celebrated as? Or is this the beginning of a quieter chapter, away from the spotlight? For Kevin Costner, the stakes have never been higher. And as the world awaits the release of Horizon, one thing is clear. His story is far from over, but the ending remains unwritten.